Hello everyone and welcome to a Zen and Art Miniature Painting. It's David here. It's cold and rainy here. You can see the dogs are sopping wet. So I've been out for a nice long walk at the beach today. And now it's time for dwelling inside and getting nice and dry. So I wanted to talk about books today because it's something that I've been working on recently, is breaking my habits in terms of books, essentially purchasing fewer books and getting books from the library instead where possible. There are some caveats that I would build around this. Part of it has to do with the fact that rule books tend to be necessary for play. I have tried ebooks and the Apple iPad books and stuff. I find that unless you have the option of printing out select sections of the book, it's just not worth it. So I still tend to prefer physical books when it comes to rules. So you can see here the section of our library. This is downstairs in this guest bedroom. And the bulk of the books here are mine. Some of them are Catherine's, obviously. My classics library is here. My wargaming library is here. The wargaming library has several components. The first being the rules that I've mentioned before, and the army books that go with rules. And the second is more to do with the history or the research, the background. That's certainly the case for non-sci-fi fantasy games, right? Because you have a real history behind it and so on. So, as you can see, we have these lovely bookshelves, and they're not quite full yet, but they're getting there. And one of the things is that I don't really want to fill my shelves with things that I'm going to use once and never use again. And so I've been thinking a lot about reducing clutter on that front. So certain books you just cannot get by without buying. So there's some rare books that you just cannot purchase electronically in a good format. One thing I find is my classics library, for instance, all those red and green books you see there, those Greek and Latin books, they typically don't do very well when you try to buy them online. I don't know if it just has to do with typesetting or formatting, but they just don't really work in ebook format. I also find that I don't enjoy reading them as much. So there's a tactile pleasure I find with these books. But enough said about that for the moment. I just want to bring it back to wargaming. So rules are important to purchase. I would say even if rules are available from, say, a library, I wouldn't get them from a library. I think it's important to support the cottage industry, which is largely what gaming is, with the exception of probably Warlord and Games Workshop, by purchasing the rules from the games that we like. And as I mentioned, the ability to flip back and forth through a rule set is very, very powerful. Now, PDFs are an exception. I have a lot of PDFs, typically from Two Fat Lardies. I like them because they're true PDFs, so I can print out what I want. And I find that with most rule sets, you only need to print out a small portion of the rule book. The rest is typically background stuff. Then we have the biggest offender. This is the Osprey books you see before you right now. And these books are very slender volumes. They are quite expensive for what you get, but they purport to provide us with a very well-researched and accurate background information for whatever conflict we're talking about. So we have the ability to, buy these books on, say, any conflict, and then we'll have the uniform guides and so forth. Most people purchase them for the plates and for the uniform information because that's where the value lies in those books. They're very much written for wargamers in that sense. Ospreys are something that I used to purchase a lot of. My exception at the moment would be that if it's a good deal, so in other words like a charity shop purchase and it's cheap, I would potentially buy it. You can see there's some books there on armies of Napoleonic Wars and uniforms. Again, these are things that I don't think are necessarily worth having on your shelf as reference, unless that is like the one thing you do, if you're really into Napoleonics. But for the most part, I found recently that I can replace most of those books with library loans, right? Because I can go into the library, I can get the book I need, and then I can ransack it for whatever info I need and hand it back to the library and save myself a bit of volume, if you will, and money, obviously. So here are two examples. This is a book. On the left is Majuba Hill from Osprey, and on the right it's German Armies 1870 to 1871, the Prussians. And I simply wasn't able to find them on my local library catalogue here in Whatcom County, but I put in a request, I filled out a form, and I said, can you find these books for me? And rather helpfully, the library was able to just hook me up with the books that I wanted. And that's awesome, right? I mean, it didn't cost me a penny. Well, I say that as a taxpayer, it's already cost me the penny. So I'm using a tool that already exists in my community. And our library very much is the hub of our town, alongside the fire station. We're a very small rural community, and that's what we have. So utilizing the library is super important to me and to my wife. We are avid readers. And in this case, I'm able to get exactly what I want delivered to the library. I can just go by, pick it up, whenever I go there. They even have a pickup place. The library doesn't have to even be open to retrieve books, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, so I get the book like this. I will read it cover to cover. I'll ransack it for everything it's worth, get pictures of the plates, make notes out of it, take pictures of the requisite parts that matter to me, be done with it, and then hand it back, and then that's it. And then if I ever need it again, I can get it. This one came from Illinois, I think. But yeah, I can get hold of the book I need as and when. Really not a big deal. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the library. I would say if you have a library available to you that can do this, go for it. Like use the tool that's there. You've already paid for it most likely, or it's already been paid for rather, by tax money and so on. And if we don't use the library, it will go away, or it'll diminish in what it's capable of doing for us. So to my mind, it's super important that we keep patronizing the library and using the services that they offer. And I know that you might think, well, it's nice to have the books. Maybe it is nice to have the books, but I'm sure that not every wargame project needs to have a full library behind it. In this case, we can just get your read on, be done with it, and then that's the end of it, right? So another good resource I find is Project Gutenberg. So I said that I don't really like reading rule books in ebook, but books is different, right? So this is Project Gutenberg, and from here you can get lots of out-of-print books where the copyright has expired. So in this case, I was looking for a book by Graf von Moltke, the German field marshal who basically engineered the German mobilization logistical plan for the Franco-Prussian War. And then you can see I find it quite easily. It's got a horrific cover, but that doesn't really matter. And I have the option of downloading it in multiple formats. So if I just want to quickly check what's in it, I can look at the web version of it. And then the other thing as well is I can get like an ebook format specifically for an e-reader if I want to do that. Usually the web version is fine if you're specific. So the nice thing about it is it gives you a little bit of frontispiece there. But it also has like hyperlinks for the actual sections of the book, which are quite handy. So the ability to find on the document like this is also great. So you can hop to the piece you need by clicking on the hyperlink on the right. There's a really good order of battle at the bottom, which is quite cool, which is very helpful for a wargamer, right? And the other thing as well is, as I said, you can just press Control F if you're on a Windows machine or a Mac, a Linux machine, or Command F if you're on a Mac, and you can find. So if you're looking for a specific name, specific location, you can just search for it and it'll scrape that entire document for you in one go. So I again highly recommend this as a resource. It's not the be all and end all, but definitely worth looking at. So with that said, I just want to finish up and say thanks for watching. And if you have any strong opinions either way, or any thoughts, or any other potential smart options, please do let us know in the comments below, or in a video. That's always good. Just if you do respond via video, please tag me in it so that I know that you've created it. I always look forward to hearing other people's opinions, but this is just mine. And here's the last picture of the dogs. The little one is looking longingly outside. No doubt she wants to go and get muddy and wet. And Big Boy doesn't care and is fast asleep. So with this picture, I wish you all a wonderful time. I hope that the weather's behaving itself wherever you may be. And I'll talk to you again soon.